You're a mechanic in Nuevo Laredo, 31 years old, married, one daughter who just turned 4. You own a small shop on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, just a garage and a lift, and the tools your father left you when he died. You fix cars for people who can't afford dealership prices, and you're good at it. Honest work, clean money. The kind of life that doesn't make headlines, and doesn't need to. The black SUV pulls up on a Tuesday afternoon. 3 men get out, dressed too well for this neighborhood, carrying themselves like the weight of the world bends around them. They don't look at the cars in your lot. They look at you. One of them smiles, but the smile doesn't reach his eyes. He says they need to talk. He says it's not a request. They know your name. They know your wife's name. Your daughter's name. Where your daughter goes to preschool. They know you served 3 years in the military before opening the shop. They know about the loan you took out last year to buy new equipment, and they know you've been struggling to make the payments. They know everything, and they want you to understand that they know everything, that you've been watched and measured and evaluated without your knowledge. The conversation hasn't started, and you've already lost. The man who does the talking is polite. He explains that the organization needs mechanics, people who can modify vehicles, install hidden compartments, maintain a fleet that operates outside normal channels. They've heard you're skilled. They've heard you're discreet. They're prepared to pay generously for your services. The number he mentions is more than you make in 6 months. You know what he's really asking? Everyone in Nuevo Laredo knows. The cartels don't hire mechanics for oil changes. They need vehicles that can cross borders undetected, trucks that can survive gunfights, compartments that hide things that shouldn't be found. Saying yes means becoming part of a machine that kills people. Saying yes means your hands will build the tools of violence even if you never touch a weapon yourself. You start to say no. The word forms in your mouth, and then you see the man's expression change. Just slightly. Just enough to communicate what no actually means in this context. He doesn't threaten you directly. He just mentions that mechanics who decline their offers sometimes have difficulty staying in business, sometimes have difficulty staying healthy, sometimes have families that experience unfortunate accidents that no one can explain. You have 3 seconds to understand your situation. Your wife is at home with your daughter right now, making lunch, thinking about grocery lists and preschool pickup times. She doesn't know men are standing in your shop explaining that your life belongs to them now. She doesn't know that the next words out of your mouth will determine whether she becomes a widow by the end of the week. You say yes. The man smiles again, and this time it almost looks genuine. He says you've made a wise decision. He says someone will be in touch with details. He says your first payment will arrive tonight. A show of good faith, a demonstration that the organization takes care of its people. Then they get back in the SUV and drive away. And you're left standing in your shop with grease on your hands and a future you didn't choose closing around you like a fist. You don't tell your wife. That night, when the envelope appears under your door, with more cash than you've ever held, you hide it in the back of your closet and say nothing. She notices you're quiet at dinner. She asks if something happened at the shop. You tell her it was a slow day, nothing to worry about. The lie comes easily, which surprises you. You didn't know you could lie to her so smoothly. You didn't know a lot of things about yourself until today. The first job comes a week later. A truck arrives at your shop after closing time, headlights cutting through the darkness, driven by a man who doesn't give his name and doesn't expect you to ask. He explains what he needs. A hidden compartment behind the back seat, accessible through a specific mechanism. A sequence of buttons and levers that wouldn't occur to anyone who didn't know it existed. Large enough to hold 50 kilos, lined with materials that defeat drug-sniffing dogs, sealed tight enough to survive immersion in water. He doesn't say 50 kilos of what. He doesn't need to. Everyone knows what crosses the border in 50-kilo packages. He gives you a deadline, 72 hours, and leaves the truck with keys on the workbench. You build the compartment. You work through the night and into the next day, sleeping in 2-hour stretches on the floor of your shop, using skills your father taught you when you were young enough to think being a mechanic was the most honest profession in the world. The work requires precision, creativity, the kind of problem solving that used to make you proud. You're creating something he would have been ashamed to see, but you're creating it with everything he gave you. The compartment is perfect when you finish, invisible to casual inspection, undetectable by standard search procedures, integrated into the vehicle structure so seamlessly that you can barely find it yourself. The kind of work that only someone with real talent could produce. When you step back and look at what you've done, you hate yourself for how good it is. You hate yourself for feeling pride in the craftsmanship, even as you understand what the craftsmanship will enable. The pride is automatic, instinctive, the response of a man who's been building things his whole life. The shame comes right after, and the shame is learning to live alongside the pride without destroying you. The man returns for the truck exactly at the deadline. He inspects your work without expression, runs his hands along the seams where the compartment joins the original structure, tests the mechanism repeatedly until he's memorized the sequence. Then he nods, just once. No praise, no criticism, just acknowledgement that you've done what was required. He pulls out an envelope and hands you more money than the job could possibly be worth in any legitimate economy. More than you make in 2 months of honest work. He says they're pleased. He says there will be more work. He says you should keep your schedule flexible. Month 1 becomes month 2 becomes month 3. The jobs arrive regularly now. Compartments in trucks, reinforced doors on SUVs, modifications that turn civilian vehicles into something else entirely. You've become part of an infrastructure you never wanted to see, never wanted to understand. The money accumulates in your closet, in accounts you've opened under names that aren't quite yours, in the growing distance between the person you were and the person you're becoming. Your wife notices changes. You're working late more often, coming home exhausted, flinching when unexpected cars pull into the driveway. She asks questions you can't answer. She suggests you might be having an affair, which is so far from the truth that you almost laugh. An affair would be simpler. An affair would be something you could confess and be forgiven for. What you're actually doing has no forgiveness attached. A vehicle you modified appears on the news 6 months in. Border incident near Laredo. Shootout with federal agents. 3 officers killed and 2 more wounded. The newscaster describes the truck's hidden compartments in detail, the sophistication of the modifications, the professional quality of the work. Experts speculate about specialized mechanics working for trafficking organizations, about the infrastructure that makes these operations possible.